Hello and welcome back to the Geek on My Sleeve channel. This is Geek Out 115 over Artifact, which is book 8 in the Artorian Archive series by Dennis Vanderkerken and Dakota Krout. And yeah, trying to figure out a good tagline for the branding, and I think it's Geek on My Sleeve, where we learn how to human one book at a time. And this one does a great job of a lot of personability, and oh man, there are so many good references throughout this one. Buttons. And there we go.
We appreciate it, Dennis. Quick shout out to everyone who was able to join us on the reschedule and the different time this week. Life kind of got in the way, but we appreciate you guys making the time to hang out. Hey, Cliff, appreciate you joining us as well. Lots of
So
awesome
Saturday,
faces.
hey, just might be the
Might
thing.
become might be the new norm.
Yeah, I keep meaning to do like polling or surveys to be like, hey, between these 2 days,
There's some
we
feedback for
can.
you, Pete, on the tagline. Kara said they'd get merch with that tagline. I
Yeah,
like it.
and this series is just great with it because I guess this book in particular, you end up with animals who are humanoid-ing or I forget the verbiage, humanizing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's
and
a
then
no
Artorian
go.
just with his stop grandpa time and figuring everything else out.
So we've talked a bit about it in other streams where, Pete, you really like your niche. You really like your lit RPG, your action, your hardcore. Like that's what really scratches your itch, gets us back to our roots of all the video games we used to have time to play. Now we just, instead of watching people on Twitch, listen to people. The fact that we're so invested in this Dennis Vanderkerken humanization. Thank you. The man, the myth, the legend. We're reading a story about grandpa who, is embodying his law of love, right? And just all the epicness, the good little
Or is that the inversion,
man.
anthropomorphizing?
Hey, yeah, there we go. Yeah. Another reason why everybody should read or listen to audiobooks, expand your vocabulary.
Oh, there was one I wanted to look up. It was something like pagoda or something. I can't remember where it was. I didn't get around to
Mm-hmm. So, gosh, yeah, we're almost there. This is book 8 of the Artorian Archive series, Artifact. Currently, I believe I was looking online. There's 9 officially out at the moment, almost current with
Yep.
what's published. And then I think Dennis said he was working on 13. And yeah, gosh, where do you want to jump in on this? There's so many good things
There
to
was
talk
a
about
lot
with
of
Artifact.
great components.
Should we open with the old favorite? Did it scratch your combat itch? Artifact. We like to critique the covers. Did we have the cover scene with our big old siege weapon?
Yeah. The cover scene happened, except I felt like it happened on top of a tree because we've got the ballista, which we do get, and he does do his whole yoga stretch out pose thing with it. We do have the portal in front of it for transporting the bolts to center mass during this cow level sucks. But I thought it was on top of a tree for the majority of it. But I mean, still beautifully done for the cover artwork.
Yeah. We had a couple boss fights this book. One of the things that, like, where you remind me of our boy Sonny is, okay, here's the rules and parameters of how you need to tackle this situation. And Artorian is like, let me figure out how to break this. Can we
Or
open up a
well,
portal just right above them? Or like if they're too powerful, there was a line in there about just figure out how to kite them, staying out of the range of their damage while
I guess
poking
that's
away at
true.
bears.
Could have been the other one for the cheese comment, where he cheeses the boss fight,
Hmm.
because he was on the ground for that one.
I thought we had a couple in this book.
Or
Try and remember.
we did. I was back on the cover.
Oh,
Because I
okay,
was thinking
okay.
it was a cow fight where he was using the portal to transmit to center mass, but he was probably doing the boss fight you were talking about, where he was trying to cheese the engagement from above.
Yeah, yeah.
And quick update from Dennis. 9 is out, 10 still working on artwork, reworking 12 to my satisfaction, 13 is burning a hole in my pocket and clawing my door down to be written 12 first. Yeah, and kind of need the building blocks, but you already kind of have more already developed from what Dakota's written in the Completionist Chronicles. But yeah, those are two separate timelines.
An Artorian messing up the bridges in between worlds and books. Artorian can go in any order of the series. Just drop the next one. Yeah,
Well,
Starflyer, book 21 when? Correct us if we're wrong, Dennis. I think you've said you'll keep putting them out as long as we keep loving them. And yes, get those guys up here. Book 21 when? This. So much goodness. And just when you feel like, okay, when we first met Artorian, he was the wise old guy that helped Dale and Cal kind of worm their way through it all. And we're book 8 and still the character development of him embodying love, working through his past regrets and his challenges, not just completely face blasting this demon when he says, I surrender, I'd rather work for you. And I think it was either the last book or the book before that. Here we are, we were questioning Artorian, who, is the embodiment of love in this book. He's just telling people he meets, like, hey, yeah, just call me love. My friends call me love. And he was telling his wisp, it's like, no, demons always fall into, they're always going to just be evil, right? And I think he used the example of, what was it, the bandits that he killed back in his hometown, where he went through and talked to them. And I wish we had the
I forget
quote.
the two. It was like what you're doing and then the intent behind it. And some of the
Mm-hmm.
bandits were doing it because they enjoy doing stuff to people, where others were products of their situation because, the whole, I can't remember the lady's name, enjoyed taking them when they're young. That way she could mold them into her own image
Mm-hmm.
and,
Is
kind
it
of
a
put them into
means
the
to an
situation of it.
end? Are you just weak where you are kind of getting bullied into the herd, or do you just enjoy inflicting and causing others pain? And the demon defects, probably butchering the name because we were listening at 2-3x, but I think it was like not quite Sunny like Artorian, but it's like Sonny or something similar, where I hear it and I'm like, is this intentional? Is it not intentional?
He does that with one of the dwarfs, where we literally just had a moment with Dawn becoming Dawn, and then we had a dwarf that had it was like Dawn versus, yeah, it was close on the pronunciation.
Dennis says, I got plans for at least 21! Exclamation point. Yes. Yes, please. They're all really, really enjoying it. Hey, gosh, just you know how we like to bounce all over the place. Oh, thank you. Dennis says it was supposed to be Sony. Hopefully that's right. Like the brand slash company, but it ended up being Sony because copyright.
Makes sense.
There we go. There we go. And while we're talking about kind of breaking the fourth wall, and we had Artorian when they're talking about different areas. I think it was Asgard. Was he talking to his gnome buddy, Neverdash? And he's like, if I was breaking up my journey into books, that would definitely be the next book. Like there was a couple subtle nods that took me back to the original Divine Dungeon, where we had a couple of those fourth wall breaks, or Dakota references. But we were talking a bit about this beforehand, and Kara was spot on with it last stream, helping us point out all the references. I don't know if it counts as pop culture references, maybe geek references, where we had the professor moment. You just had it, the Disney movie with our llama.
Oh, the Emperor's New Groove.
There we
The
go.
guy's name who was a llama, was the emperor who got turned into a llama.
Yeah. So feel free to chime in on some of your favorite little nerd geek nods.
Yeah, we had the when he gets transported into his smaller body, and we had normally people have to go through the 8 things and then face the Elite Four for Pokemon reference.
Yeah. Starflyer, Cusco. Thank you.
There we go. That was the name.
Thank you. We also need to go get, when we're talking about merch on the shirts, who's their name? That one guy.
Yeah,
and I
names
think
are.
part of that, one is being bad with names, but also listening to it in audible or audio book format. You don't really have to lock in on the names to get into the persona of who's talking, because the voices inside my head are already there. Yeah. Here we go. Kara says Sony enacted out a scene from Anastasia. There we go.
I want to say I didn't care for that because I was like really little when that came out, and it's like, oh well, you're a kid, you're lost.
I'm sure there's a
demon
lot
creepy guy.
Yeah, I'm sure that there's a lot that we missed, little nods, because there were a couple chapters where it was just like one after the other. It's like, oh hey, yeah. Yeah. So many fun scenes in this book.
So I guess I'm trying to remember how the progression between it. We start off and we're essentially Eternium paralyzed us where we can't move or we have 0 stamina for a year. We're in the baby long form, and Rip and Tear, our 2 shark buddies we met earlier, end up saving us. And then we learn that the dark elf Brianna is hanging out in the depths or the deeps, and she's the shape-shifting.
That was really cool.
Yeah.
And just their journey there, a couple books back, they weren't on speaking terms, and now here she is. Gosh, like
she has had a weird progression, because while they were in the Divine Dungeon, Dale had writs from the Phoenix Kingdom, the Lion Kingdom, and had given, or was a Baron or whatever for the Dark Elves, and the Dark Elves
Mhm.
were supposed to protect the tree, and it was supposed to translate into where we're at now for the whole soul space gig. But then after her being a brat and not wanting to go to sleep, she kind of lost that right, and now it's been transmitted to the wisps.
One of the amazing lessons that we keep coming back to in this series is it is amazing what a nap can do for you. Like time and time again, even from way back in the original Divine Dungeon series. Um, yes, yes. And the whole culture around our boy Sonny and his accolades carrying around pillows.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. Naps. You need to learn how to take those, Pete. They're amazing.
Yeah. Or my problem is flat surfaces are lame.
I agree.
I'm all about that hammock life.
Yes, yes. So sorry, I interrupted you on
So
our
then we
dark elf.
got essentially Rip and Tear, who saved us, got to the beacon, shoved Artorian through, and he became the Noodle Hat, or for the goblins. But we had the original goblins versus the Bob goblins. Um, yeah,
And if we
so
remember our
he,
Divine Dungeon days, those are vastly different goblins,
yeah.
right?
And then if we get into the Completionist Chronicles, they're a additional amalgamation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Very true. Carr says, if you feel like you hate everyone, eat. If you feel like everyone hates you, delete, aka sleep. Yeah, it's true. Hangry is something else. A good meal and a nap.
Yep.
Be like, and yeah, keep going. There's another big player that got his nap this book, and we see kind of the progression in the relationship
Oh
there.
yeah, Eternium did. Well, so anyway, so we get pushed through the beacon portal, end up being a hat. Then we go and we hang out in our bonfire space with our liminal energy. Oh, I can't remember her name. Um, and then we
Forcing him to do
relive.
the A track of one regret at a time.
Yeah.
And I gosh, like Dawn behind the scenes right now, we need to go down a whole separate rant on the key players back in Cal Soul Space that we're not really keeping track of. We just get the little blips where Dawn pops in to help nurture and care for um yeah, yeah. And then Uncle
We go
Tatum.
through our trial, which is one of his military excursions, and essentially he's a tactician, and he ends up with all the people who don't want to be here, don't care to be here, are here due
Mm-hmm.
to extenuating circumstances. Um, and more or less, they were set up and put for a poor environment. And I think this is okay. There may have been other trials or tribulations that it didn't feel like the same answer, because the Sky Spear one, where he gets essentially kicked out of Sky Spear, but then he
Mm-hmm.
passes while failing, and the
Mm-hmm.
answer was, I know nothing. And then there's another one that was essentially the same thing, where I know nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And then I guess we do get a good quote here when he picks up his bowyer profession. And yeah, that it was kind of the extended version where it's like, I know nothing. The only way you can start to learn something is if you accept that you know nothing, or that what you know is insufficient. And if you're the smartest
Mm-hmm.
person in the room, then you're in the wrong room.
Solid nugget of knowledge right there. MC hopped in when we were talking about
the
the individual.
limbable or energy
Yeah,
trial lady.
Scylla, quote, Priscilla. Yeah. And that scene where he meets up with a dwarf who was a hedgehog, which I think is kind of interesting to see the overlap there, like the dwarves who live underground. But when he has that moment with Artorian where he's really struggling with the siege weapons, his third profession, and he's had all these people just kind of worship him as the deity that he is in this world, and how much of an impact it has on them to see him actually have to struggle and work at something after completing all these incredible feats of skill. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's another just great lesson that people don't seem to see. They tend to relate or expect them to be as good as their idols when they spent years and had a strong support system throughout it, and it didn't happen overnight, kind of deal.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people just tend to focus on the incredible feats without appreciating all the work and energy and trial and error and times you spontaneously combust into flames and have to get your, you know, buddies to bring you some hair to weave some string. It takes work over essentially millions of years, right? We had that little drop right there. We haven't gotten to that point yet with our sorry, step back. Where were we in the storyline? I keep going down these different side
So
tangents.
we got saved, Beacon, did our
Mm-hmm.
trial, realized that essentially it was out of your hands where you can't control how they feel. You can only control your own actions and, to continue to push forward. Then we came out, jumped into our alternate body. Or no, I think I may have missed a couple steps there, but jumped into our alternate body,
Mm-hmm.
um, where we're hanging out at Decorum's previous place. uh Meet up with, that was another big exciting moment. Or well, okay, so back up real quick. When Arturian is in the limitable bonfire space, um Scylla talks to the heavenly love and essentially invites all the heavenlies to come into Cal. And because the bonds are weaker, as we know, between all of the, we get to see it with Eternium and whatnot and a couple of the others, but we only got to really see love come through. And that's when love met Arturian as well as put or Eternium asleep.
Mm-hmm.
But that was interesting. And then we got more of a expansive view on the S ranks and how Dawn has a bunch of different names and how she's like slowly, progressing.
Was that this book or the last book that her and Uncle Tatum kind of get into that as they
Our last
go and
book was
assimilate
with
the
Tatum. This
yeah,
one was with Scylla and Dawn had like four different names.
that's right.
And
That's
she's
right.
like, "Oh, I only know you as Dawn."
Yeah.
And then, oh, sorry, what I was getting to is we learn that the elves or our wood elves are not really gone. They're amalgamated or all in one soul space. And, oh, or no, I think I missed a step. Anyway, so all the dark elf, or not dark elves, all of the wood elves are combined into our two, which is exciting because we could get all of them back. We just need to wait for Cal to wake up. And then the other big point was Oh, I lost it. Oh, we got the party, we got the band back together more or less, where Dale and
Yes.
his party was going at it, and we
We've
wanted
been
to add
asking for it
Adam,
for a while. Yeah.
but we need to get him a body, but Cal's still MIA, aka
Mhm.
in the real world, following Elon Musk around, screaming core at him because he keeps wanting to call it something else.
Yeah. Some quick comments. MC said that was a good moment when she invites them all into Cal. Kara commented, Skilla invites all the heavenlies into soul space. ... I see no potential problems that could arise from this.
I It seems as
Bum,
if
bum,
they
bum.
are
No,
able
no
to
spoilers, but we allow
keep their
foreshadowing.
power where the S rankers are limited to Cal's maximum capacity. Because when we get to see Love interacting, it's not been a hindrance that we know of.
Dennis says wood elves, their memories are all packed into the same petabyte drive, so to say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it made sense when we were hanging out with the Wood Elves and oh,
Oh,
or it was the hookah reference where they have to use the hookah to be able to express their different personalities, or the rest of them all,
to
even though
individualize and
there's,
everything.
yeah, to be able
Yeah.
to individualize. They'll
Mm-hmm.
choose a host tree to attach to.
I'm just such a sucker for like the magic systems and the world building and just like how everything intertwines. After we get current, we need to go back and redo the Completionist Chronicles just to see everything from a new perspective now that we have all this back lore just up until
Well,
like phase one of Alpha 1 and everything
but
because
no, because I, yes, I'm sure there's nuggets I'm missing.
it's
But
not just that, but just
my
like the
my thing is where
appreciation.
we're at is not even like it's gonna have another iteration on top of it, and I can't wait to Cal to come back and wreck everything where he's like, "Oh yeah, so I just figured out what the internet was, and I have everything downloaded." And then by the time our boy Joe gets there, it's been like 200 years, which
So
at insert accelerated math for time dilation.
can I mad scientist slash just go down the rabbit hole on theory crafting? Um, it's one of those things that as I'm reading and listening to the book, just the little references that you then try to make the connections like, okay, like, yes, there's dev, but then there's dev, and just like all these other jokes and references that we're getting from the story. I wonder if the first contact was really when Cal got plugged into the internet, just because of all the other potential contacts and bleed over and influences in other ways. Um,
Mm, well, on that note, I would have thought so. Initially, we had talked about how um, Barry in Divine Dungeon, the ending, Barry gets Cal, but because he's split into two souls with Dale and Cal, he ends up going into
mhm,
Dale
mhm.
and he loses some of his stuff because the meat suit isn't capable of storing both and separating them. But then we get Eternium, which has all his memories and everything because we literally just downloaded and had to have our whole conversation with him. So Eternium has it all, but millennia has passed, so things have changed. I'm still pretty sure when Cal goes offline was him getting hit by the mining rig or oil rig.
Mm, I don't know. I could see it. And maybe not Cal, but just like other people getting out. They can't be destroyed. We're going to turn Barry into a fork.
Or so that's where back a book when Cal enters the S ranks and falls into the realm of Pi, and then to summon, you essentially bait a hook with that kind of energy, and that's how demons are summoned, and that's how we summon Adam, where Adam, as far as we know, was dead. But because of where he falls on the chart of all the different things, his extended life or purgatory or continual existence was
we
in a
we
different
get
spot.
we get a lot of teases and additional strings to just that whole theory with the Completionist Chronicles, where after Eternium wakes up, his wisp breaks out Grandmama, right? Grandmama is dead, but like the memories and everybody who knew her, he could pretty much bring her back into
Manifest
play.
based off of
Yeah.
memories.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
if you take what we know as far as like the capabilities there, and then you jump back to the wood elves and individuals and Cal's ability to kind of like go and recreate all these things.
Oh yeah,
And
we're there. We just
uh,
need Al to wake up or come back. And it has to do with the whole time dilation bit, because even with the chains of chaos, he can still think and cultivate and pop back out to the real world or whatever. And since internally he's moving so fast, that's why there's a huge discrepancy, and he hasn't popped back up in a while.
Hey, White Thatch, good to see you. White Thatch was on us to read this series for a long time, and we had already done so much in the space. Glad to finally cycle back. White Thatch says there have been a few references in DD and AA about advanced civs from before. So
Or civilizations?
I believe so. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Kara,
like the whole.
speaking of the lost things due to the meat suit issue, I want to know what some of the things Cal/Dale lost.
Yes, and we could figure it out by matching Eternium's memory to where we were at with Cal. Um,
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
well as that's how we know Cal, well, isn't destroyed, because A, we're in a soul space, and B, he hasn't re-amalgamated with Dale.
Mm-hmm.
C, D, E, and F. Dale, why aren't you calling it or doing other
Gosh,
additional things?
I'm so happy we got to see the old gang again. But eventually, I would love for Dakota to double back and give us some more of the original crew after the Divine Dungeon series.
Well,
Um,
that, and we still missed quite a bit, because for Minya, we do meet her in Completionist
yes,
Chronicles, but
odds and end.
she pretty much lays into Joe, and she's like, "Oh, I was a arcane loot lord, something," and she
Mm-hmm.
lists off all these titles, and she's like, "And a merchant is just my job title." Like,
Mm-hmm.
flexing on him. You don't even know me.
Very true. Very
Which
true.
by the time we meet her again in here, she's pretty much like, let them go off, do their thing. But not to say she couldn't at any time bounce back and do
Yeah.
whatever.
Mystery Master, good to see you. Says, sup, dudes. This is the book with the dragon crown, right? And
Yes, this
yes,
is Arturian in the baby long form, which is the dragon crown for the
the
goblins,
drag
and then
on.
yeah, the pun. That
Ah,
was
ha,
one of the
ha.
better ones.
Rest in peace, Bob. Rest in peace. Yeah, thank you. Oberon is Eternium's Wisp's name. Taking on the personality of Grandmama was great.
Well, what happened to Oberon support Wisp?
gosh, just the whole Wisp versus Gnomes madness in the machine was beautiful. I enjoyed that very much. Notches on their paddle, like just that back and forth scene in the
Yeah.
dev notes. Yes. Yes. Um,
Well, and that's
yes.
another great example of we just need Cal to work his magic because literally, or Never Dash, our dev, was the only one that we got, was our only gnome. And
Mm-hmm.
he recreated the whole race out of his memories because oh, I I wanted to say talent tree, but that's not right. His law connection was memory.
Yes. 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 Gnomes rule. Um,
That's a separate series.
so Kara, back on the conversation about Dawn and different civilizations. Kara says Dawn even stated that there was a more advanced civilization before hers, and it made hers look like a child or
Or
look
that
like
was last
children.
book, the
Yeah.
conversation with Uncle Tatum or the Master, and that was another great one where so sidestep, I'm sorry, but we started off with 3 moons, and
Mm-hmm.
then one of them is Sky Spear, and then which was to trap Blighty, and then the other one just fell now. In IRL, we have a SpaceX satellite or rocket that's going to hit our moon. Not saying it's going to happen, but if we go the way of the dinosaur and then we get Divine Dungeon, I might be okay with it. Um, Sorry, we were talking about, oh, yes, Occultatum and Dawn with the conversation. And that was another weird S rank thing where they have to essentially relive the experiences of your S rank counterpart that you're taking over, which makes me curious what the heavenly has to go through.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Gosh, like we really appreciate you guys hanging out. The chat is just popping, and when we see something shiny, we just want to chase it down the rabbit hole. So far, catching up on comments. So I believe this is in regards to Never Dash, Starflyer. He was cursed to have the memories of the race, which again, with what we know about Eternium and how
He
individualization
can,
works now.
or yeah, plus in the Divine Dungeon universe, his interaction with Cal, he's pretty much like, connect to me, give me all your memories so I know.
Mm-hmm. uh, Dennis says Dev's law is remembrance, which was his way to get the data out of the cosmic drive. The Wood Elves smashed their heads into one another the hard way. Yeah, yeah. When it develops organically, versus yeah.
Well, and that's like one of the beauties of this whole series or this extended universe is like the very first interaction where we have, or I guess it's a second interaction with the dungeon divers into Cal, and they're like, what? They can heal? And it's like, oh, yes, well, every attribute or every, I can't think of the verbiage, can do anything. And that's where, like, yes, everyone has their own individual way of doing it. And then there's also, misconceptions or variances where like the mud and the water could be,
Mm-hmm.
or the earth and the water could be mud, but it could also be memory, which is our dev.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Bouncing around trying to keep following the different strings. Kara says, I want expounding of the Wisp versus Gnome Wars. Yeah. Yes, please. I would love to read more about that. MC, so what's up with multiple Minyas? Yeah, so in the Completionist Chronicles.
Yeah, it's not that there's multiple
Yeah.
Minyas, it's
Well, yeah, it
that.
is. Because she runs odds and ends, right? In the different areas. We're talking about spoilers, fair game, as
Oh,
long as we've covered
okay.
it. So in the
Yeah.
Completionist
After we
Chronicles.
get done with our R and we started on the I, or
Mm-hmm.
go through the Bifrost, Bifrost.
Yeah. MC was good to ask if we got through Inflame. So we're on the different, or the second arc of Rich List. Spoilers up through there, guys. You've been forewarned.
I guess I didn't connect that initially. I thought it was a baby or tree, but now I'm thinking it's kind of like what Dawn's doing in this book, where she's allowed to have multiple S rank bodies. And that's how
Oh,
she
that's
was
true.
confusing the wisps, as well as that's how when she was hanging out with Celia, the liminal form, uh, Uncle or Uncle Totem decided to pop in because he was like, "What's going on here?" So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm pretty sure that she makes it to S rank and is allowed to have multiple forms.
We have some other thoughts along that string in the chat. So MC did say, I guess it is just her in this book. She is just at the one odds and end shop in this one. But if you go up through Inflame, like you said, we get a bit of that through Joe. Kara commented, Cal can split himself into Cal and Dale, so splitting Minya into many views is possible. But again, what I referenced was with Bob's. We saw what happened with Bob, but he was kind of all synced up, right? He
Or
was,
yeah, he kept
they were
having
sharing.
a refresh where he resynced.
Right, right.
And they can technically do it. It just extends their nap timer or burns their fuel before needing a nap quicker.
Mm-hmm. Kara, our local lore expert, it isn't confirmed but theorized in regards to the previous comment. Yes, Dennis says something shiny racing down rabbit hole. You mean glitter flits? I can give you glitter flits from DD in AA12. They will be.
That was one thing that at the first book of CC, it was like kind of introduced, but not really. What I want you to work on, Dennis, is we have Manny the Manticore, who is flirting with I forget
Yes.
who it is. And then we also have Decorum. So we have Decorum, which is a liger or a lion. We have Volteca, which is our T Rex. We have Sir Barrington in the Completionist Chronicles series. Then we have Zilia, which is a spider, Halcyon, which is a whale. We need to find
Orca.
one for the wolf. We need one for the phoenix. But I want to see Snowball come back. I want to see
The
Rail
babies grow
come
up
back.
and start
And
dating.
then I want them to Captain Planet or Power Rangers, Megazord or Voltron assemble, or He-Man, I have the power,
With our
or Dragon
powers
Ball Z
combined.
Fusion Ha.
Yes.
But yeah, because like we had a lot of cool things that could have been translated over, and I respect the way that you brought all these different iterations to be, where Zilia was a dungeon core, that followed the teleportation, but then was made into something new, as well as we have other beasts that were dungeon cords, which are now pylons, so anybody can be anything. Or we have Sunny, Mr. Love, who is in a baby long form, and just that, yeah. What is
Evolution.
reality anyway?
This book kind of makes you question it a little bit. Following a couple other additional threads, Carl said it is interesting to think that there is a tribulation track where you address past regrets, then have the S rank ascending, where you see previous people from your path / rank. I'd love to hear more. Yes. Walking more than a mile in their shoes. And we get to see how real the experience is for Artorian, reliving his own to go and relive somebody else's, wear their skin, if you will. Mystery Master, I want to see Artorian's S ranked transformation.
And yeah,
That's
and
what
of
I'm
course you
saying.
kind
Like
of got a sneak peek where
we're
he
only
did that
in
a
the A
whole.
ranks right now, right? Book 8,
I
halfway
think
through our A
we're
ranks.
like 7, 8,
Okay.
or
Yeah.
maybe 5. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
We can literally snap our fingers in any time zone and be done with it.
Kara, did y'all spot the baby Spriggan when Arturian went to get a bowstring? That's what
I'm
was
drawing
it?
a blank
Chaos.
on Spriggan. Yeah, he was hiding it and sending it away
Yeah,
so he couldn't inspect it.
yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Minya's situation is the Nurse Joy / Officer Jenny of the DDEU.
I She is a good candidate, and that's another one of those like radical developments where she had to be so optimally efficient in the DD universe when we meet her, because she had the whole like corruption, swallowing a core, not being able to get rid of it, so had to
Mhm,
survive off of what she had to becoming the
mhm,
powerhouse. And did you really say that to her? Moment, and then for it all to work out in the end, and then her to be, very zealous for creating the cult of Cal and taking care of everything to just needing a break. And
mhm.
yeah, millennia of taking care of everybody to, okay, I guess I've done this long enough. Let me keep everything in order.
And the ritualist, she kind of refers to them as her sisters in a way, which is similar to Nurse Joy and Officer Jenny. So let's see. Gosh, so many chats just popping. We appreciate you guys. MC, does Dale just go to sleep when he's Cal, or does he retain his Cal memories? I
I
think he's like
think
a splinter,
Cal
right,
had
of Dale's memories.
or Cal has gotten better. So in the Divine Dungeon series, when we get the initial, Dale uses the celestial core on the infernal um, portal and makes it a chaos portal, and Cal brings him back the first time. He has all of Cal's memories,
Hmm.
but they fade and he loses it. In this iteration, inside Cal's whole space, he completely separates it and kind of dictates what memories he's going to be getting. And it's part of the whole S ranking where you can have multiple bodies doing different things, but we get to see we're asking for the team to assemble that he has no memory of Tiny Torian going through Eternium, or he has no memory of, all the other things that are currently going on, like the demon invasion and so on. So I think he selected what memories he is getting.
Dennis says Manny Snowball Rail asterisk sneakily holds up the upcoming books and asterisk oh do I have / goodies / for y'all.
Okay.
Yes, please. Kara, when Cal split the two personas so Minya could have Dale, Dale had no memory post the scene where he had to sacrifice himself to save Cal and the people in the soul space. And again, like, I hope we get to see things through Dale's point of view again, because I can imagine how, in a way, he was the fishy for them in the Divine Dungeon series book, right? Like a bit of a check on what it was like to go back, that 20, 30 years, I think, for Hans, when he was, starting fresh. And the rest of his friends have now lived at that point millions of years, right?
Yeah,
Through
he's
all
got
these
to
different
catch back up.
experiences. Yeah. And, the moon just crashed, right? From his perspective. So, yeah.
Though that brings up, so a lot of the people converted to the Wolfmen. There were several of the people who did not, as well as we have Tom, who has regained his
Oh,
past
Tom.
memories. And
Yeah.
then we have the master uncle or Akal, who is essentially developing the ritualist stuff and the back end, and yeah,
Mm-hmm.
curiosity.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Um, Dennis whispers makes a conspiratorial hand sign. Richard.
You know,
Bum,
that
bum,
was
bum.
another like glorious death. Um, yeah, yeah, Father Richard. Oh, the guildie who brings in Dale. Frank, because there was another pun. Be frank with you,
Rest,
Frank.
rest in peace. Yes.
He was
See,
another one.
that's
He
that's
wasn't
how
as
you get
awesome.
Peter to remember names. Just make it be a pun. And then
Or
and then
Tom's intro was pretty good because he was like, "I am the barbarian." Yeah.
dun 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 dun. You just hear like the war drums in the background beating. Tom. All right. So again, spoilers if we've covered it in a geek out. Kara said Spriggan was a deity in CC, part of Joe's pantheon.
Okay. I
Another
was
string
thinking
connects.
we were assembling our old team in our pantheon, and we had just gotten the bard, which was Hans. We picked up the fire mage rage Tomalus, and then we got Spriggan, and I was like, well, hold on, what happened to Chandra? But then we also get the occultatum reference to, he starts to say Chandra, but then he says her actual name or
Mm.
her new name starts with an A.
Oh, what's in a name?
I can't remember, but we were assembling all the others. But now, if the Spriggan actually comes from Chaos, or not Chaos, comes from Discord,
Sure, we can roll
makes
with that.
sense.
So, yeah, you know how we like to chase the Glitterfoots. Where were we in the recap of Artifact?
Ba, ba, ba. Oh, uh,
I want to
we're
see.
almost there. White Thatch. I still want to see Alexandra in her library. I think she would be a great addition. I was glad to see that we got Oh, our current Tagalon Wisp brought back, and I
Yes,
understand
yes.
why Artorian doesn't want to let everybody out, but I think I was disappointed that we didn't get to see our core that we saved, where like literally all of before we get into Cal AA was, hey, I need to save my family.
Yeah.
And
So
then I expected them to help out more.
Gaia was
Ah, yeah,
Madame
thank you.
Chandra. Yeah. For me, that's where going back and re-listening to the Completionist Chronicles would be fun, because I remember we did a lot of speculation on the Completionist Chronicles before we had Artorian Archives um, in our red category.
That's true. I need to see how far off or how close I was. Though so far, I feel like I've been, throwing a lot at the wall and some stuff has stuck.
Yeah, yeah. Um, MC says, I don't think we got past Decorum's house, which we got an interesting outlook of why everyone in this area wanted to be humans and how the different species on the different areas kind of gravitate towards them. Um, yes, our recap is very non-linear and wibbly wobbly. We're kind of just channeling the Artorian vibe, where we go where the love is, and where, yeah, it is
So I
needed.
think we were at the Wood Elves are not really dead because they are all stored inside the two remaining. Cal is MIA, and we need him, and that problem solved. The team, we've gotten the band back together, minus Adam, because we need a whistle, just getting Bessel for Adam to assimilate, insert Cal figuring stuff out, doing things. And then we essentially decide to go kick Forky in the orbs. We have our, no, I just said this, moon teleport scene, and we are limited by Eternium's factors and don't succeed. But the scene is laughable, where we have a child swinging around a 12 by 12 pillow back from our fringe days. Um, yeah, that's
Behold the pillow.
beating up all the demons. And then
Yes.
he gets his hatred so far that they can detect him on their map for anyone who cares to look.
Oh
And he went to
yeah.
his son where his Artorian archive is.
I really appreciated seeing how like the different game mechanics come into play from the Completionist Chronicles, right? Like, just we get to see Artorian work with the different titles and the limited title slots, right? And the impact it has, and how he's able to break stuff with his epic titles. Definitely going to have a new appreciation for those mechanics when I go back and reread the Completionists. Um, Kara, speaking of the reasoning of humanization, I want to hear more. Are the channel qualities beyond typical common affinity vary? Does corruption affect races differently? Yes, yes. I like to see the man behind the
Well,
the curtain.
also, there are several current iterations because we end up
Hmm.
with King Henry, who lost a body, went into a bestial body, inserted the title to become a human form. But then
Hmm.
we also have all of the current animals who have like a humanization ability, so to speak. because it's literally like the llama is reaching out his hand, shakes it, and then it turns into an actual hand. So it's more like a mental construct or mental exercise to go through it, which is different, or could just be a different in iteration. And
I
that's where I personally want to see combat abilities emphasized, because I want you to be a giant tiger and dodge abilities by becoming a small human, and then extendo gadget arm for giant claw in the face that pops out of
yes.
nowhere. Um, yeah, I'm curious to see the stats affected, but at the same time, it, this book did well with continually giving Artorian new weapons to figure out and advancing and growing with him. And yeah, it felt very much like Artorian's fighting style.
Is that why you enjoyed this book so much? Because we got a bunch of new weapons and toys for him to play with?
I enjoyed it because it felt like Arturian. I wish there was a little bit more like progression to achieving it, like boss battle inserts this, but it was more of a with love Alturian style of, hey, do
We
you know this guy? The
we got
Muffin
some
Man. The
foreshadowing
Muffin
for that
Man?
though. The Muffin Man? The one who lives
Yeah.
on Pillsbury Lane?
Drury Lee.
Drury Lane?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, it's been a minute since I've seen Shrek. Um,
Or that was a thing before that,
I
right?
know, I know.
Okay.
um, so yeah, we got to see him grind out his professions. Have we gotten to that point yet? The caretaker goes back and returns home to get his skeleton king. Get to see some vampires
Or
and stuff there.
so we go and we do our moon mission. We get the animosity. We explode or
Yes.
assimilate into the sun, and then we go back to being a noodle hat. Um, mm,
A lot
then
happens in
we
this
put
book.
our wisp to sleep. We mess with the developmental tools. We utilize the law of love to have pylons that
I
are
was about to
designed to be
say,
optimally efficient, do other things based off of love, and relate
well,
in
they're
community
not
space.
optimized, but they're doing better because he's in there dancing and giving them love and teaching them how to move it, right?
Ah, Kara, that's a good one for the transforming mid battle switching as needed, like Beast Boy. I guess I wasn't thinking like multiple beasts. I was thinking just from their native animal to human, but I would like an amalgamation as such.
Kara always keeping us on point with names. It has been answered. It is Drury Lane. Do you know the Muffin Man that lives on Drury Lane? No, the Muffin Man is married to Drury Lane. Bum bum bum.
And then after our wisp wakes up, Arturian has messed with everything. Oberon is happy. Um, then we have an interaction with Dev. We hit our uh, age threshold for our noodle, pop a mana potion so that we can humanize into Arturian. And then we have our deity things. I guess before that, when we become the Noodle Crown and we beat up the other guy and essentially um, start the quest line of the map Nap Pello organization,
Yes.
and then they actually get to meet him.
Yes.
And then that's when we get to our bowyer profession, and we meet Minya. Yeah.
That was a lot of fun just seeing some of the old friends interact on the other side. And his wisp pretty much had to do the call to action for them to get them to come out of Cal's soul space to come to his rescue. And it was a good reminder of where they came from in the Divine Dungeon when Tom pretty much calls Dale out. He's like, hey, isn't this guy your mentor? You know, the people would never put up for this. Like, you need to go and rush to his aid. Let's do it.
He's pretty much like, I know nothing.
Right.
I was not a part of any of this. Feel free
Right.
to help me out.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's where White Thatch and CC, how the elves become the dwarfs and the dwarfs become the elves. That was kind of in the beginning of this whole brought into the Eternium inside the Artorian archives, where they say, hey, I don't have enough of this resource to make it. Yeah, he kind of explains how Cal wants to, if they reach a certain threshold, they'll get back their memories, and we get to see
Right.
that with Havoc in the Completionist Chronicles. But we don't really get to see a whole lot of that now because most of them are still on ice, like Barry was supposed to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Though I wish we got to see a little bit more of like random stuff being assimilated or brought in because we get those random ice or whatever that come through the portal, and then him messing with Artorian and giving him mountains of ice.
Mm-hmm. Dev brings on weather in
I
Artorian
guess that's
during
true.
this book. Yeah, I had another train of thought, lost it. Anyway, so we got to see some additional lore into how the vampires came about. Right, all the nobles were getting pretty much like a sun curse there for a while. Um,
Yeah, with our fake king.
mm-hmm, yeah, and that was his second profession, right? The first one was like Dreamweaver. The second one was then the
Was a
bow making.
bowyer,
Mm-hmm.
and third
Um,
was engineering or
siege
siege
weapons.
weapon stuff.
Yeah, which is a good creative answer to his issues always breaking bows, right?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
then he just cheated and went into his administrative powers and made them into artifacts,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. There we
which
go.
then got corrected into
Bring in our Trekkie
deity titles.
references. Kara says, with all the assimilation, I'm getting Borg vibes. So yeah, yeah. Um, and there were several times where we get to just see kind of the building of Sonny's following, right? And the call to arms. And all throughout this story, he pretty much goes, oh, we didn't touch on it much, but right when he was coming out of his 1 year hiatus or whatever, he interacted with the
Oh
queen.
yeah, all of his followers.
Yeah, and he had the interaction with his followers, but then he also pretty much brought a kingdom under his quote unquote banner. That's not a banner. Um, and they go to conquer and everything. Um, yeah.
Or they kind of, it was like a two-parter where as soon as she or he takes over, crowns the queen, she's like, hey, we're going to this new place, we're expanding, and she goes to the beacon location,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
then they do the mapping and so on. and then they continue to expand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What's next? We
Oh, I think at that point we get really good with the bow. We end up getting to the ballistas. We take out the demon population who is covering our Bifrost. Then we meet with Discord and Chaos and get the hair, learn about the Spriggans. We learned that our wood elves have wisps following them around. I forget when we moved that up the ladder to Dev for him to figure it out.
It makes
Then
sense though, because the wisps always had the role of helping nurture the dungeons, right? And I'm curious slash interested to see if this is how some of the other quote unquote dungeons in the Completionist Chronicle come to be, right? Because we're seeing the morphing of all these other people. They're going through these different. I'm an animal. I'm walking on two legs, et cetera, et cetera. There was a bit of foreshadowing, like we don't know how to do dungeon cores yet, but the Wisp population was growing, didn't have dungeons, and now they're getting assigned to our troublemakers.
So I have some different theories on that. Where is our fire core that Minya saved that we were using for our first couple towers in the Divine Dungeon universe? I can't remember the name of it because he was literally right there. Most dungeon cores are at places of powers that have their affinity types, and Cal's ley lines that were killing the world by absorbing all the ambient essence would have been on him. There were a couple iterations where he was like, I need this to work. I need it to work now. And he like flooded them and shattered the cores that were on him. But the fact that we also end up any that are connected to a silverwood tree like Eternium was could use that and transport in. And then we have the additional layers of the heavenly where they can go through the different layers, or even I guess the S ranks, because we get to see Cal go into the layer of pi. So what does so Eternium could have just S ranked in versus going in through the Silverwood tree. And do dungeon cores have their own tower? Because all the heavenlies we've met, well, I guess they're otherworldly beings for the most part. And then I think whoever was supposed to be the heavenly for Uncle Tatum or the Master kind of checked out because he talks about how there were his S rankings. He had to relive the people who have been the S ranker of his law, but there isn't a law of it in the tower. So I think his tower guy checked out and went to another existence.
Dennis says, likely in one of my bags with all the breadsticks. I'll get to them. My breadsticks. Yummy, yummy, yummy. Kara says Discord, Entropy, and Chaos having Overseer Wisps is in line with the tester bit. Okay. Yeah. Love, Discord, Entropy, and Chaos. So much good stuff. we've said it before, say it again, so much rereadability with this series, seeing all the strings of everything interconnected, interweaving.
Yeah, I know
Yeah.
it sets it up where it doesn't have to be connected because, or the only thing that's slightly concerning is so madness imprints on people's soul, or xenocide imprints on people's souls, which make them do what they do. And wow, or how we had all of the different people hating each other and coming to the giant demon battle. He then takes a piece of the master or his madness back, which injures the master. Barry is Xenocide's disciple, who is currently in Cal, which is also inside of Eternium. Cal is shoving soul stuff into Eternium. What was Eternium's original soul space? A, and then B, I'm pretty sure we have madness running rampant. And then C, doesn't it hurt to have your soul adjusted? Though I guess it fits within his law, or
There's just so many different layers of Inception in this book,
yeah.
between the time dilation and the layers upon layers. Yeah. Millions of years, billions of years, 2 years. Who knows? Time's relative,
Yeah.
right? Isn't that
Yeah, I
how the
can take a
saying
nap
goes?
for a month and it only be 1 second in the other layer.
I've had those days. I've had those days.
Yeah, and I've had the opposite where I'm still standing and I wonder where the time went, or if I just like blacked out or whited out for a moment.
Yeah. Definitely didn't white it out or black it out or some other color or absence of color it out, but this stream has certainly flown by. And I feel like we just scratched the surface with Artifact.
Or yeah, so White Thatch, the higher the law, the larger the soul space makes a lot of sense. But I guess the whole reason for the extra or existential crisis is the name of the book for how he essentially turns the demon into his weapon, which then is his soul,
mm,
and he changes his soul into something else, which is possibly madness. And we do get that interaction with Xenocide and Arturian during the Demon War when he shows up.
yeah.
I forget how exactly it goes, but he's sort of like, oh hey, you're here.
So Love should have a pretty decent sized soul space once he gets up there, right?
But that's where it's currently the pillow, and I'm sure he can change it. But one thing that didn't happen, or that happened differently, is for Cal, it started create your soul space. And then you knew you were going to go up a rank, and it was the weird, like, painless rank where everyone was like, what happened? Where he had to transition something from the real world into his soul space, which I don't know if we've seen Arturian do. He may have assimilated all of those pillows that he got.
Yeah. Yeah. Um let's see here. Kara, there's a law, but there's no node in the tower for Tatums. It's been said that laws moving up slash down the tower is a thing. Some get replaced. Example, the acceptance and sun law. So did his leave or get replaced? Or is it just hidden? Bum bum bum.
Oh, yeah, I guess that was true when Arturian convinced his son-in-law to smack around the acceptance law.
Dennis wants to know, how was the boss fight?
There were several, and it was good. Trying to remember the very ending was it was a long extended fight,
Which we enjoy.
and which was good, and then the ending. I It was a win, but I feel bad for Artorian. I guess is what I'm saying. Like I enjoyed it. It was a creative solution. It was very much why I think he may have been influenced or in tight with Xenocide. Um, yeah, very. I don't want to be this person, but means to an end.
Mm-hmm.
Um, then we got the Cheez It one where you just open the portal. Then we used, environmental damage, don't stand in the stuff moment where he was using his negative karma and taking out the demons, which I guess wasn't really
Mm-hmm.
a boss fight, but he converted Sonny.
Yeah, I was trying to pull up the quote. Um, though the quotes I'm pulling up are
Or in reference to what?
the boss fight, because Artorian pretty much has to cheat in order to take down that demon, right? And scar his soul, and everybody shows up to support him. Um, as he came peace with it.
Yeah, where he's essentially apologizing to him as he's doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I wasn't talking to you.
Mm-hmm. Um, yeah. And then just the back and forth about Sony as well is in the epilogue, about him coming to terms with having a demon on his team, and that not all demons are evil. That's the
Yeah.
quotes that I'm pulling up right now, and I thought that was an awesome passage. Um, yeah, yeah, definitely got the feels in the boss fights. When you can't beat him, cheat with our cow demon. Um, this book did a good job for me, kind of just scratching all those itches. We had our fair share of combat, we had our fair share of character development for the whole cast, able to come back through and connect all these other threads, including the regret of Artorians back when he was the quote unquote tyrant. Um, yeah, the lore buildup, the magic system. Dennis Vanderkerken asked, favorite weapon or attack this book?
So it would have to go to I wanted to see if I could use a weapon ability without a weapon when he uses like the meteor strike thing. I thought that was a clever application of things.
Mm-hmm.
And then like I thoroughly enjoyed the bow to the ballista evolution
Yes.
and the whole like yoga pose
Yes.
instant. And then I'm waiting to see the epic potential of our all aluminium or dev made all of everything multi-change weapons with our different forms. So there's a lot of potential there. I don't know if we got to see a whole lot of it because we were kind of on the run by the time that happened. But yeah, so it would have to be the meteor strike, which right before that, the whole I am running. You have convinced the cloud that you are in fact running.
I liked the raining ballista bolts with the portals was pretty cool. Um, yeah, yeah. For every challenge, there's a creative solution. And Artorian likes to find them. Dennis Vanderkerken asks people in chat favorite parts ? And those of you guys catching it on the replay, toss it in the comments below. Yeah, Peter and I keep toying with the idea of coming back to some of these books after we get current, just to build off of it. And it's impossible to get them all in these 1 to 2 hour streams that we do. White Thatch has the answer right there, first to last page. Everything in between those 2 pages was my favorite part of the book.
Well, shucks, I didn't have any pages.
How many pages in audio is that? Yeah. Yes. MC was using karmic luck against the demons in this book. And eventually we'd like to get these things monetized, so we try to keep it PG, but there's an old gaming rule: don't stand in the special poop. And to kind of see him use that karmic luck of, feces flinging to his advantage was just brilliant.
I guess
Brilliant.
is one thing that I truly enjoyed through the Divine Dungeon initial series, because Celestial Feces was the kind of curse, and Cal becomes the Divine Dungeon, and his portal that he eventually gets dropped through by Kier Nelson is underwater, where he also has it masked with the poop stench. And so he is the Divine Dungeon Celestial who is sitting in feces, because that was how he was deterring people, which, when compressed and over a long period of time, creates oil. Yeah, I haven't quite gotten that through the Artorian archive of where everything is going to end, but that's also Dakota Krout's wheelhouse for the pungents.
Yes. The pungent puns. Yeah.
Next one from Dennis Vanderkerken. What piece of lore did you get this book, or was answered that you've been craving?
It definitely laid a lot more foundation for what I'm looking to see played out, with just like the teasers with the wood elves. Yeah. What do you got, Pete?
So we did officially get the answer for Adam, that he was one of the original. We did get the Dale conclusion of how much memory he actually had. I'm excited to see where Celia, the liminal energy, asking the heavenly law, tower law people to come into Cal affects things. And yeah, I guess there was really more like things that I'm excited to see develop, such as our main team going through Eternium, to see a little bit of backstory for Dawn's evolution for all her many names, to see more of the trials or tribulations from Artorian. Yeah, because I was thinking the next one that was coming up was when he met Dawn initially, he recognized her fire because it essentially destroyed his battalion. And we know that he's going to the Sahara Desert or whatever next. in his military journey, but I don't know if it's going to happen because he kind of already faced that when he befriended her and essentially bow chicka bow bow, but not really with her now.
I'm enjoying the fact that we're getting to stop and smell the roses and kind of see each of the ages come to pass.
I guess that was iterated in this one, or how
Mhm.
a lot of the people who are animals or humans talk about there's not a lot of deities, and it was like
Mhm.
first iteration or how
Yep.
things are
Yep.
being. We got to see Cal explain it when he went through several iterations, and there always is going to be a deity system. Uh, Plot twist: we need you guys to be the deity system.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's going to be really interesting when he actually wakes up. Um, yeah. MC says, I liked that Sony went above and beyond to help Artorian and the humans, showing demons don't have to be bad. And yeah, that was one of the subplots I really enjoyed too. Uh, you got to approach things with an open mind, and that our hard fast rule of all demons are pure chaos and evil is not always so, especially after the gosh, just the going to the moon where the demons are pretty much like working in corporate jobs and slaving away for who knows what. Um, Dangerlicious. Dangerlicious. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Dennis says the Sony Garuda interaction where he flips the bird to the bird while being thrown was an easy favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah. So much good stuff. How hyped are you to start book 9, Pete?
So I am, but I'm also distracted, if I'm being honest. Anything full murder hobo has came out, which is
Have you gotten to it
exciting.
yet?
I've not gotten to it, as well as we purchased uh, Wolfman Warlock Book 2, which I'm excited about. But we do have Book 9, and yeah, I'm excited about that as well. And then I
I've
haven't
gotten
bothered
through.
messing with any of the other Mountaindale Press authors
There's a lot of good
because
titles, and it's a good problem to have. We love having too many books to read. Um, Something Full Murder Hobo lived up to the hype for me. Mountaindale Press did a um, sale, I believe, that was like pre-Audible, so new audio app to check out and play
are,
with.
yes, they're doing, I forget the verbiage, like individual sales or not audible sales.
Mm-hmm. But
So
very fun book. I'm excited to get back to Wolfman. Book funnel. Thank you, Starflyer. Um, but yeah, we're usually on the opposite end of this issue, Pete. We're almost always so current with all the stuff, and then we're waiting for new stuff to come out. It's been a nice change of pace to be able to kind of go through this
yeah, we've
pretty
picked up
quickly.
enough that are consistently releasing content, like Dakota Krout and Dennis Vanderkerken here are pretty quick on the new stuff dropping. versus how Game of Thrones guy or Brandon Sanderson, he kind of jumps around a little bit, but he's still pretty quick on it. And then we're catching on like the tail end of our VGO or Viridian Gate online guy, as well
James
as
Hunter.
our AO, but not AO. Awaken Online has quite a few in a quick release date.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't get me started on how long I've been waiting for the last Game of Thrones book. LITRPG authors, thank you for just being epic about getting all this material out. I've picked up probably 800 audiobooks since the last Game of Thrones book I got. Yeah. White Thatch joining in on the love says it's so rare. Thank you. They can write so fast and keep it so good. Yes. Yes. Dennis says strap in for book 9. It's a wild ride. Let me know what mechanics y'all want to see. 13 Hungers. And I don't think we have shamelessly plugged it this bit, but Dennis and the whole Mountaindale Press crew is pretty active on their Discord. Always super awesome to talk and geek out over all their material over there. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's like being able to interact with the magicians themselves who make these magical worlds for us to escape into and hang out with our sunshine and love pillow mages. Yes. So on that note, keep the chat and comments on AA8 going in the chat and comments below. We've been partying longer than normal. Pete, what do we have coming up? We should be getting back to our Sunday nights. Everything's been
Yeah.
pushed back a
So
week.
we
Yeah.
initially were going to be doubling up this weekend. Life is ever expanding universe, something like that. So not going to happen. We're just going to reset. Possibly rotate back to our Sunday 8 p.m. Though this was a great turnout, and thank you everybody. So we'll
Super
be
flattered you're
eventually, if
spending
I
your Saturday
remember,
nights with us.
doing a poll where Saturday and or Sunday should work for myself, unless my day job gets ambiguous, over the top.
Keep
Anyway,
keep showing the love, and eventually geek can be our day job. I would love nothing better than to stream every day and talk about a book a day. The crazy thing is Pete could keep up with it with the way he listens to books.
yeah, I need to make that video.
Talk about a new one every day.
Or just dyslexia and ADHD, and I would rather scratch out my eyeballs than physically read a book. But insert Audible. And audiobooks. And say sweet nothings to me. But
baby.
next Sunday, 8 p.m., we're going with Savage Dominion, which is book 2 in the Wormshard series by Luke Chimolenko and J.D. Penman. Found it because we do the other AO, which is Ascend Online, and thoroughly enjoy Luke Chimolenko from that series. I think this is our first iteration of J.D. Penman, unless he was on Iron Prince as well. But
Authors,
this
real
is
quick, you guys are doing it right. Like, we would have never found Dennis Vanderkerken and all his magic author goodness without the Dakota Krout collab on this series, right? Same with Luke Chimolenko. Found him and ended up getting exposed to Bryce O'Connor. Half tempted to add JD Penman and their series into the mix. But yeah, keep the crossover collabs coming. Love it, and love it so much. Sorry, what were you going to say about Savage Dominion, Pete?
uh it is kind of, in my eyes, Luke Chimolenko's redemption arc for playing with gods. He did a snippet or a teaser in his Ascend Online series, but he didn't really follow through with it.
Okay.
This
Yet,
initially
yet.
gives me similar feels if you've ever read God's Eye, which is Alarong Kong's second or side series where there's like God involvement. Anyway, starts off as you die, a Sekai, transported to another world, and here is your massive quest to collect all the pieces of the swords that killed God and go. But this is book 2. Um, I don't think I've been fully through it. I started listening to it, and then I was like, just kidding. That's not the book we're listening to this week.
We always
I
finish
don't,
off on the what's coming 2 weeks out, and then I think that's kind of what hangs out in our head for a
yeah.
bit. And looking at the chat, we're not the only ADHD individuals in the bunch. So yes.
Or I guess also another interesting thing, the main character's main ability is to kind of like create or mold his weapon, which is
Mm-hmm.
interesting because he swaps between like a shield and he does his anime giant sword things, and yeah.
Yeah.
And then 2 weeks out is going to be the second book of Awaken Online, or can I say that?
Um.
Or Scythes?
Sure. Yeah. Precipes. Um. Yes. I can't believe we're only on book number 2. This is a series that I kind of binged a bit and got further along. Looking forward to hanging out with another one of our favorite Jasons from the Awaken Online series. Lot of fun, lot of potential for the series. Again, it's I could always just get so excited when a series um will be able to find that balance between like the small party tactics and following like a small cast to scaling up to the huge realm slash kingdom mechanics and walk that balance so well. From what I've seen so far, Awaken Online does that. We have like our couple main characters in the lit RPG realm, dealing with our fun time dilation and crazy AIs. And we go from, you know, their small party plus the real world challenges and implementations, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, to ruling the kingdom, right?
Yeah, and this one I liked a lot because it delves into the realm of advancing VR setups, advancing AI technology, and it
Mm-hmm.
does it in a way that's similar to understanding of machine learning, but it does it where most relatable version would be the human is the wisp, kind of like in our Artorian archive, where they're kind of the moral compass or the guiding light. And I thoroughly enjoy the obscure development, as well as I've been on kind of like a dark power theme set where we follow a necromancer, and that was
Yes.
exciting.
Breaking away
Yeah.
from the traditional warrior molds. Thank you, Kara. Precipice, essentially edge
Thank
of
you.
big change or cliff slash ledge. Yeah. Yeah. Um, Fun series. Again, like this and Artorian Archives are two that we kept getting recommended and finally worked it into the rotation, and it lives up to the hype. Glad we're getting to it. Another long series that will be a lot of fun to do. Who knows? After we get current with Artorian Archives, we have been doing one a month, having a blast with it. Appreciate the turnout and support. Maybe this will be one of those series that we work in. Again, always looking for your guys' feedback and book recommendations. Pete and I promise to utilize the polls and the new community features we just unlocked on our channel to get the feedback on what all you guys want to geek out on. There's a couple series that we haven't circled back to in a long time.
Yeah.
I finally got you to
Or that
listen
is
to
another
Dune with me,
question
and we're at my
we
favorite one in the series.
we need to ask, because we initially wanted to cast a wider net for being inclusive. But in reality, I sometimes just need to Netflix and chill and marathon mode it, where that's what I would do regardless. But
Yeah,
that is
you
not
need
what we
to
have been doing.
you need
So
to
the
Netflix and
question
chill. When was the last
is,
time you Netflixed?
yeah, this is true. I hear
When
Sword
you weren't
Art
turning.
came out with a new season, but besides the point, the community question is, do people prefer us to marathon mode a single series and go through it chronologically, or do they mind us kind of bouncing around and doing one from one series, one from the next series, and so on and so forth? I think doing it the way we're currently doing it allows people, if they're not as quick of a reader, or if they
Mm-hmm.
have other stuff going on, as well as time to plan it out. But
It takes a
for
while to work up
causal
to 3x speed.
connections, it's always nice just to kind of do them back to back to back.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So single series or inclusive, or jump
Or
around.
just more, just more. What we need to do
I
is get you to
More
do
is
the.
also possible, but it would have
We,
to be like a Wednesday.
we need you to work on that video series you were talking about, teaching them how to get up to that 3x speed so they can keep up with you, and marathon mode the books
Yeah,
like so many
though
of our
you will
other
have
diehard
some
geeks.
odd phenomenons where the expression, the silence is deafening, will hold true meaning.
Mm, yeah, 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 yeah. Well, um, thanks again, everybody, for taking time out of your Saturday night to geek out with us. We're about to hit the 2 hour mark. It's been a blast. Pete and I look forward to this time of the week where we get to hang out and geek out with you guys. Really appreciate the support. Everybody who contributed in chat today, the man, the myth, the legend himself, Dennis Vanderkerken. Thank you for an amazing series. Looking forward to reading up through at least book 21. And yeah.
Or I guess backing up, White Thatch, Peter and Carl should be the ones to end the war with the elves and the dwarves. And then wrong series, but that was I believe he's talking about the Completionist Chronicles, where we get Havoc's daughter back,
Mm-hmm.
and we have the Grandma Shoe reference.
Yes,
And all
good old
that.
grandmama. Yeah.
Mm, 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 mm. Yep, see you next month. At least once, or well,
I
yeah.
think
Yeah, for
Asgard
sure.
is scheduled for 3/27 at this point, and looking forward to it.
Yep. Thank you again, everybody, for hanging out live and catching it on the replay. Hope to geek out with you soon. Let us know Saturday or Sunday.
Yep.
And yeah, have a good one. Bye.
Bye.